Welcome me back, man. Stack Stats or Die Trying is back. Episode 60, Chuck Bednarik. What's good, everybody? Welcome to episode 60, the Chuck Bednarik episode of Stack Sats or Die Trying. This is the Bitcoin only show brought to you by the Black Wealth Rebels and by the Hood. I'm your host as always. My name is Jimmy. Haven't been here in quite a while. A lot's been going on, but this is episode 60, the Chuck Bednarik episode, Philadelphia legend, by the way. But yeah, man, a lot's been going on. I've got a lot of questions about where is the Stack Sats or Die Trying podcast. What's going on, Jimmy? What have you been on? This is a moment of transparency. I had two podcasts that I was doing weekly. The Philadelphia Real Home Report, which I haven't done. Stack Sats or Die Trying, which I haven't done. But I had a lot going on in my personal life. I lost my mother-in-law. She passed away. And then right after that, I lost one of the closest friends to me. And that really just had me trying to get my life together, trying to, figure out how to continuously create this content, right? So for those who don't know, I lost my sister, Tracy Powell. Rest in peace to Tracy. She was one of my best friends and one of the people that were closest to me. And even outside of our personal relationship, she was also my business partner in real estate. So trying to figure out how to navigate that, and to be quite honest, still haven't completely figured that out. I'm still working through a lot of things as it pertains to, the business side of it all. And I didn't even know if I was going to come back and keep the podcast going and all that, because, sometimes life be lifing, y'all. But, I know that through all the messages I got, through all the phone calls, text messages, inboxes, people asking me about the show, I was like, man, sometimes when you create these bodies of work, whether it's Stack Stats or Die Trying, the By the Hood podcast, what we do with Black Wealth Rebels, you don't know how it impacts other people and that people are actually listening. Sometimes you feel like you may be talking to yourself, but what happens is I had so many people reach out to me, ask me questions about Bitcoin, ask me questions about the podcast. I was like, man, it has affected people in a positive way. And that was confirmation that I had to, figure out how to come back and keep it going. And also it's funny because, my sister Tracy had left me a voicemail that I still have about the other podcast and how much she enjoyed it. She thought it was tremendous. So I was like, you know what, I just got to get out of this rut and start to create this content and get back into it. But that's kind of what's been going on with me, figuring out those spaces from a business standpoint, because again, my money is made in actually doing the things that I talk about, not necessarily creating the content. I'm not a full-time content creator that's going to lie to you about, hey, I'm making $1 million doing that. I still work in the real estate fields in multiple capacities. I do stack sats. I do consultations with Bitcoin. So I do work in the spaces that I talk about. So those things come first. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of what's been going on with me. But with that being said, throughout all of the tragedy, throughout everything that I've dealt with, my DCA was running. I've been stacking sats every single day. I've been stacking sats every single week, and I've been stacking sats every single month. Me stacking will never stop. You know what I mean? I got my stuff on autopilot, so that's still been going on. Closed deals in real estate, but this isn't the real estate show. This is the Bitcoin show. So with that being said, I'm going to talk about Bitcoin. And first and foremost, before we get into today's topic, I just want to say thank you to all the supporters of Stack Sats or Die Trying, because you guys are amazing. I also want to shout out the Village. And for those who don't know what the Village is, us at Black Wealth Rebels, myself, Kamari, Corey, we have what we call the Village, which is our community, right? Because our community has helped me in ways that I can, just can't even really put into words. But to join the Village, go to blackwealthrebels.com. We do have a free tier. And we put a lot of content back there. So the content has been going in terms of Black Wealth Rebels. It's just my specific podcasts haven't been going. And also throughout the hiatus, we finished our 11th By the Hood ownership camp, where we had students from literally all across the world. We had some live in Philadelphia, pull up, get educated on Bitcoin, get educated on real estate, get educated on personal finance, budgeting. And we finished our 11th camp, which was held at the 6-Man Center. Shout out to my brother Amin from Philadelphia Youth Basketball, who made that a possibility. The facilities were amazing. The camp was amazing. Lives were transformed. People from the Village actually showed up in person to speak to the kids. We had several multimillionaires in the building come speak to the kids and give them advice. We had state legislators come to the actual event and speak to the kids. So that also happened during the hiatus. But now we're getting back into the thick of things. I'm gonna make sure I try to drop this content more frequently. I'm gonna try to get back on a weekly schedule, but what I will promise you is not weekly, it'll be bi-weekly at least. And it will air in the Village before it hits YouTube. So if you are watching this in the Village, appreciate you. If you're watching this on YouTube later, I appreciate you as well. I appreciate anyone who's put an eye on this content, but understand that folks that are in our community get access to the content first. I have a lot of other master classes that I've written out and been working on. I have one specifically about REITs versus physical property. And I have a Bitcoin master class for 2025 that I still haven't done. That'll be held live in the Village as well. So join the Village by going to blackwealthrebels.com. Also in the hiatus, one last thing before I get into today's topic, is a new sponsor. A sponsor is called Closet of Capital. I'll put it on the bottom of the screen. Closet of Capital is where finance meets fashion. They sell merch surrounding like finance, a lot of great Bitcoin stuff there. Just go to closetofcapital.com, take a look at the merch. Please support Closet of Capital. That is a sponsor. Another sponsor, by the way, Supplement. Supplement, for those who don't know, is a Black-owned bottle company. They make this tremendous bottle, you know what I'm saying, with the top that screws off. You know what I mean? It's just like your Contigos or Yetis, but it's a higher quality. Of course, you don't see me. This is Bitcoin. I got a Bitcoin. I put Bitcoin stickers all over it and whatnot. But tremendous bottle. Go to getsupplement.com to support Supplement, who is a sponsor of Stack Sats or Die Trying. Closet of Capital is also a sponsor of Stack Sats or Die Trying. Let me take some of this tasty beverage before we get in today's topic. Shout out to Get Supplement for their support of Stack Sats or Die Trying. Now, today's topic though, Harvard University. One of the things that I realized throughout my years of being on this earth, you know what I'm saying? Because, you know, I come from a different planet, but I digress. But one of the things that I realized is that when it comes to institutions, right, whether that's institutions of higher learning, whether that's government bodies, whether that's huge corporations, a lot of us put a lot of faith, right, and a lot of belief in large institutions. Shout out to Mark Lindstrom, who wrote a book, and I'll put a link to the book in the show notes or the description. I'm also going to put a link to all the different ways I stack sats. I'm going to put a link to Closet of Capital. I'm going to put a link to Supplement. I'll put all those things in the description. But this book specifically, called Brand Wash by Mark Lindstrom, was one of the books that was fundamental in my understanding of human behavior and in terms of business and corporations. But we put a lot of stock in these big institutions. So much so that we buy into things when we see them buy into things. It's human psychology. For instance, Harvard University, right? I have friends that have went to Harvard University, and some of them as dumb as a doorknob. No shots at anybody, but I mean, it just is what it is. But when someone tells you they went to Harvard, right, it does give you a certain feeling. You start, and we talk about this in our book, the book that Corey and I wrote called Own Your Time and Space, because we believe that if you went to Harvard, there's a certain time frame, certain time that you've allocated to studying, and we think that you're smarter than the average person if you went to Harvard University, right? What I'll tell you about college, this is someone, I got more degrees than a thermometer. What I'll tell you is most of college is a tolerance test, right? It's about how long you're willing to withstand things and whether you're willing to go through that. And again, I think it's an excellent test of someone's tolerance. But it doesn't mean that you're necessarily smarter than someone else. Some of the smartest people I know have never stepped foot in a college classroom. But again, we put this value on institutions of higher learning. And Harvard probably at the top of the food chain when it comes to that. So Harvard has an endowment. And if you study the history of Harvard's endowment, it's very interesting because they kind of reimagine what it means to have an endowment as an institution of higher learning. Most endowment funds and a lot of colleges have endowment funds. I know the University of Texas has a huge endowment fund. A lot of the Ivies have a huge endowment fund. In terms of HBCUs, Howard probably has the biggest, I know they do have the biggest endowment fund. So there are a lot of endowment funds within universities. A lot of them invest their money from a conservative standpoint, right? Harvard took a different approach. If you go back historically and look, Harvard has invested in small businesses. They've invested in hedge funds. They've invested in real estate, have a bond portfolio. So they always have been ahead of the curve. But because of that, their endowment fund has ballooned and outperformed a lot of indices, a lot of investors that do this for a living. They've had tremendous success with their endowment fund. Now, what's also interesting about this, back in 2018, an economist from the University of Harvard said that Bitcoin was more likely to hit $100 than it would be to hit $100,000. We know how that prediction played out. It is what it is. But now, just the last couple of days, and depending upon which source you read, I saw that Harvard purchased 118. I've seen anywhere between 116 to 118. But the last one I read was $117 billion. Just want to say 117 million, not billion, worth of Bitcoin through the IBIT ETF. So their fund has purchased I'll say over 100 million, because that's the one thing we all know. They've purchased over $100 million of Bitcoin via the IBIT, right? Via the BlackRock ETF, which is known as IBIT. They've purchased over $100 million. The time they purchased it, it was selling about 116,000. So this goes back to something I've been saying on all of the previous episodes of Stack Sats or Die Trying. Everybody gets Bitcoin at the price they deserve. I'll repeat that. Everybody gets Bitcoin at the price they deserve. One of the things I need to go do is I need to go back to the very first episode of Stack Sats or Die Trying, and I need to figure out what was the Bitcoin price on the first episode. As a matter of fact, I'm going to look that up and I'll put it somewhere over here. Matter of fact, over here somewhere. I'll put it over here somewhere. Where Bitcoin was on the first episode and where Bitcoin was as I'm shooting this episode. Because that'll be interesting, right? Because everybody gets Bitcoin at the price they deserve. Nothing I say on here is investment advice. It's for educational, informational purposes only. But what I will say is you've been watching this and you've taken action. You're up. I know for a fact you're up, because I don't want to speculate and say what the price was, but it was a lot lower than it is as I make this today. Today, we're above $118,000, right? So I know that last I checked, we were at about 118.5, somewhere around there is where it was trading at. So I say that to say this. So if you watch this show and you've taken action, you are far ahead than most people. But everybody gets Bitcoin at the price they deserve. Doesn't matter if you're Harvard University. Doesn't matter what institution you are. Doesn't matter whether the U.S. government, whether you are Harvard University, whether you are Johnson & Johnson. Doesn't matter whether you are MicroStrategy. Doesn't matter who you are. Bitcoin doesn't care. Technology cares less about your feelings, and you will get Bitcoin at the price you deserve. They said that it's more likely to go to $100 than 100,000, right? Now, think about all the gains they missed out on when they had that thought, right?
Stay away from they, you know what I mean? Never complain.
Stay away from they. Who is they and why?
Well, they are the people that don't believe in you, that want you to fail. They don't.
This is economist from Harvard. It's not the same person that made the purchase. I want to make sure that's clear. However, it's from the same institution, right? But it doesn't matter if it's Harvard University. Doesn't matter if you're Joe Schmo that's watching this video. Doesn't matter whether it's your grandmom, your aunt, your boyfriend. Doesn't matter whether it's, your girlfriend, someone who's your girlfriend that shouldn't be your girlfriend. Doesn't matter whether it's somebody you got a $40 date with. Doesn't matter whether it's somebody you took out to dinner. Doesn't matter whether it's your nephew. You get the point that I'm making. The point that I'm making is everybody gets it at the price they deserve, because it's really about taking a step back. Even if you don't believe, you know what I'm getting ready to say here. Haven't said it in a while, but I'm getting ready to say it now. Everybody has to do the knowledge.
Do the knowledge, nigga.
Because the fact of the matter is, there's no one, and I'll repeat that, there is no one that has taken the time to do the reading, right? To really buckle down and go through the rabbit hole that hasn't come from the other side of that rabbit hole, change, understanding what money is. That's the first part. What is money, right? Forget Bitcoin. What is money? Once you understand what money is, right, and you understand the problems with money, you understand the problems with the constant printing, then you see Bitcoin as a solution. As I always say on all these episodes, and if this is your first time watching a Stack Sats or Die Trying episode, this is episode 60, the Chuck Bednarik episode. There are 59 more episodes. And in fact, there's really about 60 more episodes, because one of the episodes, shout out to my brother Bar, with Bar, we did it 2 parts. So this is technically the 61st piece of content around Stack Sats or Die Trying, but it is episode 60. I say that to say there is a whole body of work. You can go back and learn about the Lightning Network. You can go back and learn about what is money. You can go back and learn about some of the technology surrounding Bitcoin, also the use cases for Bitcoin, also different tools within the Bitcoin space. You can see me talk about River. You can see me talk about Fold. You can see me talk about Swan, Strike, all the different places that I purchase my sats, because I don't use Coinbase. You can see me talk about Bitcoin credit cards, Bitcoin debit cards, Bitcoin games. There is a whole body of work that I have created dedicated to teaching the community and teaching people that look like me, and also people who don't look like me. My thing is, I am an educator at heart. That's what I realized about myself. Real estate is my profession, but at heart, I am an educator, right? I enjoy the idea of learning, but then actually teaching what I learned along the way, because I'm also a lifelong student. I still study Bitcoin every day. I still read books on Bitcoin every day. I read the books, the podcasts, right? I read the articles. I'm studying constantly about the technology. You can't see it, but behind me, I have 3 miners running, right? I'm reading about mining. So I'm deep down a rabbit hole. I'm all in, by the way. I tell my family, like, either I'm going to be a billionaire or I'm going to be out on the street. But the fact of the matter is, it's going to be one extreme or the other. But I'm all in all the way. And I say that to say, doesn't matter if you're Harvard University. I understand how people put this stock in, this belief in institutions of higher learning, specifically Harvard, but it doesn't matter. Bitcoin doesn't care. I want to come back with this message, right? Because I know there are still a lot of people that will probably watch this episode that listen to me all the time. Shout out to the audio listeners to the podcast. Hasn't been nothing on the podcast feed in a while. It's been kind of dry, but I'm back, baby. So, it is what it is. So you will get this as well. And man, listen, I just want to say this. Take action. Am I telling you to buy something? Absolutely not. I do not give investment advice. I am not your fiduciary. But I want people to take action for them and their families. I don't care whether that is stacking sats or starting to get land or getting your money together. But we are living in a space in 2025 where nobody is coming to save you. So you have to take action, not as a way to floss or to show off for the gram, but as a way to protect yourself and your family, because the rubber will meet the road, and there will be a time when you need to have some resources to make a move. And, I say all that to say, Bitcoin is the solution, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. I am a Bitcoiner at heart. It's been a lot of time since you saw me. Do I still care about the XRP army? Nope. Do I care about smart contracts that are unnecessary? Nope. Do I care about this meme stock or that shit coin? Nope. Bitcoin only. I'm Bitcoin only. I'm going to say it again. Bitcoin only, right? And, it's only so long fake thugs can pretend. So time will tell. I don't debate with people. I'm not looking for a debate. I don't care what your favorite shit coin is. You know what I'm saying? I'm in a different mode as we are finishing out 2025, going into 2026. I heard a saying the other day, forgive me because I don't remember whose pastor it was. It was a show my brother Kamari was on, I was watching. And he said, the thing is, you'll have a lot of people who disrespect you. You have to distance yourself from disrespect. And I thought that was amazing. Distance yourself from disrespect. I say that to say, I ain't got time for it. I'm teaching the people that want to listen, the people that need my help. You can reach out to me. People have reached out to me, specifically people in the village, and I've helped them. I'll walk you through things. This is what I'm here for, right? So if you're not in the village, join the village by going to blackwealthrebels.com. Please support the sponsors, closetofcapital.com, as well as getsupplement.com. And subscribe to the channel, like, comment, share, do all the YouTubing and stuff. But I am back. I am creating content, and everybody gonna get this work. I don't care if you're Harvard University. I don't care if you're Goldman Sachs. I don't care if you're JP Morgan, because again, we've seen this before. We saw all the banks. In fact, it's funny. They bought the BlackRock ETF. BlackRock was once on the, on the record as saying Bitcoin was nothing, and now BlackRock has the biggest Bitcoin ETF there is. The fact of the matter is, everybody at some point or another will acquiesce. You will bend you will kneel before Zod is what you will do.
Come to me, son of Jarrell. Kneel before Zod.
Kneel before Zod. Yeah, I've been dropping crazy references, like, you know what I'm saying? And I'm gonna drop you with another one right now, right? Because a lot of times, specifically these Harvard guys, a bunch of these Constance Fry guys, right?
Constance on the make, Constance Fry, Constance Fry. Anytime you'd call, Constance would fulfill your needs. Winter, spring, or fall.
Where is the Constance Fry guy? Right? It comes from the greatest movie ever created. And I will debate you this. This I'm willing to debate. The greatest movie ever created was Trading Places, or at least it's my favorite movie. Let's put it that way. I shouldn't say the greatest. That's kind of foul. It's my favorite movie. Trading Places is my favorite movie of all time. And a bunch of these Constance Fry guys, said that Bitcoin is going to be $100. I mean, they got it at the price they deserve. With that being said, I love you guys. I truly appreciate all the support, all the well wishes, man. Rest in power to my sister. She will live forever through me and as well as the rest of our crew. But I appreciate you nonetheless. Give me some feedback. What do you think about Harvard University purchasing the Bitcoin that they purchased? If you're watching this in the village, leave a comment in the village. Let me know. Welcome me back, man. Stack Sats or Die Trying is back. Episode 60, Chuck Bednarik. Do all the YouTubing and stuff, like, comment, subscribe. If you're not in the village, get in the village. I'll see you guys on the next episode. Peace. Love you.